Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's the Thursday Q&A session on the Amazing Showdown, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys today. We have lots of great questions that are queued up. Melissa, you're out there with me.
I am. Good morning, everybody.
All right, good morning. It's kind of good afternoon now, right? Kind of time
Oh, it
flies
is.
here
Yeah,
at
I
high
guess it is
noon.
high noon.
I know, right? Yeah, so let's go ahead and people, the few things, a few housekeeping things to address as we go through Q&A today. Some of the things that we're noticing is we're getting a ton of questions for things that are ahead of the class schedule. So if you've looked at the class schedule, we're going to be covering everything in campaign structure and setup in detail in Act 2. So we get into week 5 talking about search term reports for a full hour, and then we go in and look at campaign structure in week 6. We talk about search campaigns specifically in week 7 and placement campaigns in week 8. So the schedule is pretty packed. The whole entire second act, the entire second 4 weeks of training is focused on campaign structure. And so the one thing that we're seeing is a lot of people are asking structure questions and how to get the keywords into their campaigns. And it's a little bit early to be asking that. Normally when I'm doing a new account, I'm going to spend a minimum of 2 weeks just in the competitive and keyword research phase. And, I'm a seasoned professional. It still takes me with a team to do a couple weeks of that good research before we go out and actually would put anything live into a campaign build. So I know that we're getting questions about setting this stuff up, but I think it's more important that you probably take a few steps back and spend more time researching and more time analyzing that data and a lot more time looking at your existing search term reports if you already have campaigns that are live and data to review. But you definitely don't want to bypass the research phase and hop right into just plugging stuff into your campaigns, because the likelihood, here's how it works when it comes to competition, and that's the one thing we deal with on Amazon, is that competitors are really deep and they're in every single category across the whole search engine, because it's such a good search engine with so much good sales and potential for growth, that we've got a lot of competitors in there selling products, right? It's a pretty big ecosystem. So the hardest thing when you get up neck to neck with competitors like that is that if you stop in the research phase at the same point they do, where you just get some keywords and you go live and you get the most obvious stuff and you go test it, unfortunately, you're just probably not going to have much luck, because whatever you've thought of in those first few minutes or first few hours, I guarantee your competitors, they thought of that too. So the only way that you can kind of bypass your competitors out the gate is to do deeper research and deeper analysis and get much more strategic in your initial research and kind of push yourself past the point of obvious. So past the point of, oh yeah, this is the first thing I see, or the second or the third. You really want to spend some time downloading those sheets out of Helium 10, looking at all the different keywords, how your shoppers search, analyzing all your competitors, looking at their keywords. You really want to spend that time so that you have a really good understanding of that path to purchase and how to leverage it in your campaigns. Because the only way that you can stay ahead of the competition is to think deeper than them and be more strategic. So you definitely want to push a little bit further past the obvious details that are going to pop right out at you, and you want to do a lot more deep thinking with your research. So I know a lot of people are asking campaign structure questions, and on the flip side of that, we do think, I do think it's important that we talk today about cleaning up your existing campaigns. If you've got some major crazy stuff going on that we've read, that we'll address some of that today. We'll definitely address how to implement this strategy into your existing campaigns, because that's a really important detail that we got to make sure you get. But in terms of like just building out campaigns and where you're going to put everything, we'll be covering all of your segments and ad groups and campaign structure and bidding and budget. All of those things we're going to cover in detail for 4 full weeks. So you're certainly not going to miss it, and you're going to get it during those sessions. So I think on this one, we want to kind of move back, stay focused first on competitive analysis and getting those questions answered to make sure you're square from last week, and then talking about keyword research, which is the details of this week. And then next week we move into market analysis, which was equally important, because that's really where the money's at, right? It's market share is where we get the dollars. So with that said, Melissa's going to dive in first to competitive keyword questions that we already had queued up for last week. If you have new questions about competitive analysis or your competitors in general, feel free to post those, and we will do our best to get through them all today. If you have new questions about keyword research from Tuesday's class, please post those as well. If you have anything else besides that, we're probably not going to get to today. We're going to stay on topic to make sure that everyone can move through the training that they've already taken and execute the first 2 weeks effectively. So Melissa, what do we have there?
Hi. Okay. So, and what I'm going to do is, a lot of the questions that are coming in, you guys are getting very specific with your brands and your products and everything. So without sharing too much about you guys individually, we're just going to answer them in kind of a general way. So if you hear a question that's similar to what you asked, but it doesn't reference your product, it's probably your question. We just didn't want to, keep a little bit of anonymity in there.
That's a good idea. I think that's really good. And also, so everyone can get some value out of it, because if we get, we can't look at specific products, because I can't specify this enough, which is why the research phase is so important, is that every product is different. There is no set number of keywords. There is no set number of volume. There's not even a set budget, because literally your budget is determined by the volume of your particular keyword, which is determined by the market demand of the shoppers. So keywords that get higher shopper demand have higher budgets. There's no way around it. So if it's something that's very popular, very common, you're going to have a much higher budget and a lot more keywords. If it's something more niche and craftsman and small batch, you're going to have a lot less keywords. And in that regard, you're going to have a much lower budget, and you may struggle to even get traffic if it's too niche. So it really just depends on your product, specifically on those kind of like tactical details in terms of numbers and those types of things. So really, we want to stay in like a high level strategy so that you can apply this to any product. Of course, it's important to start with the product you're working on today, but you're in this for the long game. So you'll have lots of products over time. So you want to be thinking strategically how to apply this to multiple products on the Amazon platform.
Yes, and these strategies are you should definitely be able to use these throughout the progress and everything. And depending on what kind of product you have, you can definitely translate these strategies into that. I know we had a couple people say, that they could follow your path to purchase. They could follow all your steps and strategy for jeans, but they were just unsure of how to apply it to their own product. And it definitely can be. It's just a matter of thinking strategically.
And I think I can even answer that one. If they're trying to apply, like, say, the concept of jeans to their own product, the best thing to do there is just to start with the jeans equivalent of your keyword. So when jeans is the main keyword to describe a pair of jeans. If you had, if you had a different type of product, if you had, say, a makeup brush, your main keyword would be makeup brush. And if you had toilet paper, the main keyword would be toilet paper, right? So your main seed is literally just the keyword that describes your product. And then that takes you through the path to purchase, because on Amazon, most people start there, right? Of course, you need to take that keyword like we talked about and take it through Helium 10 and look at the different variations. And it may have seemed like something when you watched the class that you didn't possibly grasp, but if you went ahead and took the information and dove into Helium 10, you may have a different view today. I hope you do. We've already had some people have massive success and send us great feedback like that, which I love to hear. So if you've gone into Helium 10, you're probably seeing a lot more, right? So that's another thing, is you'll have to kind of, with the class, bridge your knowing, the knowing doing gap. We have to do it every day. It's tough in digital because everything is so fast moving and changing, and it affects all of us. There's no one that's immune to the rapid advancement of technology. It is really tricky to stay on top of, even when you're on your A game. There's just no way that you can ever project what a system as big as Amazon is doing. I think they have hundreds of thousands of employees. It's probably have hundreds of thousands of just engineers changing the platform and working in the platform. So for us to stay there, it's tricky to kind of know which way to go. So the main thing with that is just to kind of stay open to it. And when you see something here that may seem maybe something you're not familiar with when you watch it, which should be the case. You wouldn't be familiar with this because you've never done this way, unless you are in an agency and do advanced advertising. So you may have never seen this or done this. And then I think the very best way for you to get acclimated and comfortable is to go into the tool and then do it. Like watch what I've seen, match up if you need to, go into Helium 10 and put the word jeans in. and then go back and look at my screen caps and see how that matches up. And I think the guide will be especially helpful for that we're putting together this week. I think that you just need to kind of match up what I'm talking about with the tool itself. But there's no amount of me doing it that's going to help you get better at it. The only thing that's going to help you get better is executing it and bridging the knowing doing gap, which means you know what I'm saying, kind of, and then you're doing it. And then doing that repetitively across multiple products, multiple keywords, multiple days, multiple weeks, then you start to get, acclimated to it and you get it. But there's not going to be anything you're going to see me talk about in class that you're going to have a deep understanding of, because that wouldn't be possible. Because if you already understood it, well, then I wouldn't be teaching you anything new or challenging, and then you wouldn't be getting ahead of anything. So when you come to class, you may feel a bit puzzled, but if you take just the action items and go into that keyword tool and just poke around, start with jeans, try to model what I showed you in jeans very simply, and then from there you can start to put your own product seed keywords in and then try to model it that way. I think it'll come out really easy once you start actually working in the tool. And I would say a lot of the questions from last week regarding that are probably a result of people just not being in the tool and being seasoned with the strategies that I taught. And the more that you implement the strategies, execute them, I certainly wouldn't be trying to just get them out of the video clear as a bell in your mind. I would be going into Helium 10 and executing and figuring it out that way, right? Like poking the box, getting in the tool, doing the research, downloading the reports. If you've done all those steps and then you have good questions, that's where we're really going to move forward in these sessions. Just be sure that you're diving into the tool and bridging that gap before you come back with a question, because that's when I can really help. If you haven't gone in and actually done it and got yourself acclimated to the process, you may be a little confused still. But I think if you're in Helium 10 and you do enough experimentation with keywords, including the ones I gave you and the ones that are your own, you're going to get some really good flow and some good traction.
Awesome. And I just, Sri, what are your thoughts on giving a little testimonial that was
Well, we had some great stuff there. I think it's super good. But let's just dive into the questions. We have so many. So again, I think a lot of people have probably already executed based on some feedback. So most people have already done a lot in the tool. But for those that haven't, let's go ahead and make sure you have a good, clear view of the new questions that have come in today, Melissa.
Yep, I got
and
it.
then maybe we should let's kind of reverse engineer this. Why don't you just go ahead and do the stuff that you know is really key, that has an indication of someone that's been actually trying to do it, and let's get those answered on competitive research.
Yeah, definitely. And so, and building on what you had just answered, the question you just answered, one of these is, how do you feel about multiple main keywords? If they have synonyms for their product, if their product isn't necessarily cut and dry, this is what it is, but there are synonyms for it, how do they handle that? Are they doing competitive research on each synonym, say if they have 3, or should they stick to one main keyword?
Well, it depends on where you're going to invest in your advertising. I mean, usually you can start with the main seed, and the main seed is going to show you the category leaders, because on Amazon, unlike a regular search engine, it's not quite as granular where synonyms are going to bring you up different products, where on Google, a different word will bring you different search results because it's text matched, right? So a lot of Google is about text matching, where with Amazon, it's not like that. So it's very likely, for example, if I have a best-selling pair of jeans, that same product is going to rank for both jeans and denim and blue jeans and everything related to that, because Amazon is a shopping engine, so it's not like granularly matching, text to text, as people are using images and all sorts of triggers to shop. So you're definitely going to find that your main competitors, you're really looking for the ones in your category. So you can go ahead with a seed. Such a great question competitively. You can start with a seed like jeans and start going through your competitors. Of course, based on what we discussed last week, your main seed, you could go a step further and do skinny jeans, right? You're going to use a modified search to get very close, relevant competitors that look like yours, like we reviewed in session 1, right? We add a modifier. We wouldn't just go in with a very broad phrase. So your first modifier, I would say, be skinny jeans, right? And when I say a modifier, that is just a single word that people attribute to a general phrase to make sense of it when they're searching. So they modify their search to describe the features and benefits that they're looking for. So they come in there and they say, okay, I want jeans, but I want skinny jeans, which implies the fit, right? So they'll do that across all categories. If they want something in a color, they're going to indicate they want blue. That would be a modifier. If they want something in a particular size, they're going to indicate small, which is a modifier. Sometimes features and benefits can go even more detailed. They might be looking for something to go camping thing, and they might have a modifier that is waterproof, right? They may have something that is stain resistant. There's so many different modifiers people will use depending on your product, and your product has very specific modifiers as well, right? If you had, let's say you had a cleaning product for the home, without question, a lot of people are going to modify that by the word natural, right? Or chemical free, or even a specific chemical that they don't want in their home. But a lot of people will modify their search with the word natural. And that indicates, you know, a buyer preference and a feature and benefit that they're looking for. So all that a modifier is just something that allows you to kind of see what the shopper really prioritizes. And the most popular modifiers are the most popular and important features and benefits to the shopper, right? So you're trying to capitalize on those by not just bidding on them, but also placing them prominently in your pages as well. So when you kind of come through a modified search like skinny jeans and you look at competitors, you're going to find that kind of category, whatever that subcategory is, which we're going to be looking at next week around skinny jeans, you're going to see that subcategory is going to have leaders in it. And it doesn't really matter. It's not going to really matter if there's synonyms in terms of your competitive analysis. It's not going to matter at all, because most likely the organic ranking and the bestseller rank, and those rankings are going to be identical regardless of the synonym the person uses. There's just the bestseller in your subcategory, wherever your product is ranked, not the main top tier category. That's irrelevant, but the subcategory that you're ranked in is very important. And whoever is selling the most and getting the most page views and sessions is going to be ranked in the top 10 of that subcategory. So you really want to kind of look at that and see kind of, you're going to see the same people. So you don't have to go too deep on one, synonyms and different seeds to pull your competitors. You're really looking at those category leaders, because those are your true fiercest competitors. Now, when it goes time to actually bid on keywords in your campaigns and make those small bets and put your money on them, at that point, this is no longer about organic rank. You're not getting this traffic for free. So you absolutely have to focus on synonyms and modifiers, and you need to bid very strategically on the words, even if they are in a synonym is fine, that specifically describe your product, and get much more fine-tuned in terms of features and benefits. Like I was explaining last on Tuesday, features and benefits are high converting keywords. The shopper is really at that point pretty sure what he's looking for, and you got to catch him there. It's like the midway through the buying cycle. They start in a general place, but the shop category is like the idea of just a modified search, a certain color, a certain size, a certain fabric, a certain texture, whatever they're looking for, certain criteria like natural. When people start putting that stuff in, they are comparison shopping, and when you're competing for that traffic, you need to be in their mind and in their view when they start to compare products, and you need to be top of mind. So it's a really important part of the buying cycle that you get right there in the middle, and that you grab that traffic on those modified keywords. So you definitely want to bid on them very strategic from a keyword strategy. When it comes to competitors, you're really just looking for category leaders, and you're looking for the products that both rank and sell best for your modified keyword. And most of the time, those modifiers are going to overlap. At least your competitors will. They're going to show up on all the synonyms and regular keywords.
Awesome. And you suggest doing 10 competitors, correct?
Absolutely. Every time. I like to really dive in and get that just to 10. I think 10 is a great place. You don't have to you're not excessive at that point, but you really want to pay close attention to overlap in your competitors. So if you have a competitor that is showing up organically ranked, and then that same competitor pulls really good sales data out of your browser tool from Helium 10, and then that same competitor has a really solid BSR, they're in the top 10 in your subcategory, that competitor is really interesting. So I like to look at overlap, but I like to narrow it down to 10 key competitors that are a combination of bestseller rank in the top 5 ideally, but 10 I look at. Organically ranked, always in the top 5. I need those guys in the list. Aggressive advertisers that are showing up on all my keywords in the top positions in sponsored products and headline. And then, of course, just anything that is identical to my product, very similar features and benefits, but has really good sales velocity that I would pull out of any tool that shows product sales.
Awesome. And there was something I wanted to clarify with the download that we offered on the spreadsheet that we were giving everybody. Because I helped work on it, I think I can probably answer this for them. You can see numbers like organic number 3 and organic number 6. The reason those are not in sequential order and we did not include numbers 4 and 5 was because there was products listed there that they weren't directly related to our product. They were different than the product that we were researching, and they weren't, for example, we were looking for a beard oil. These were like a conditioner or a balm. They weren't the same thing, right, Sheree? That's how we
That's
kind of
exactly it. Yeah, Melissa nailed it, but she does a lot of this research. So yeah, she nailed it. That's really what it is. So even if somebody is ranked in the top 1 through 5 positions, like for example, let's say I'm going after skinny jeans and I'm trying to determine my best competitors. It doesn't really matter if for some random reason, because Levi's, as you saw, was the biggest brand, right? So Levi's is going to rank across the board. It's the number 1 shopped keyword brand-wise for jeans, right? So Amazon's going to show them a lot of love because they're selling a lot of products and they're advertising a lot too, I can tell you that. So if we're looking at Levi's as a keyword and you put skinny jeans in, it's kind of maybe likely that a different style of Levi's jeans might show up there for some weird reason. So sometimes when you're running, your searches on your main seed keywords, like the one example we use, beard oil, if we're running those seeds, you're going to find that the very best selling products are the ones that rank. It doesn't really matter. Now, again, someone can take the organic position for the word beard oil and have a bomb because they're not out any money, right? That doesn't cost them to rank number 1 in the category. And you'll also notice that that person is not advertising even that number 1 seller in beard oil on the organic listing is not, advertising their product under beard oil, right? They're doing it under balm. So again, you have to, with advertising, be very specific that your modifier describes your product exactly, because you really can't afford to kind of do these broader terms. Now with organic traffic, you can. So you can, if you can rank organically on any keyword in your category, you take it. And if you sell on it, you will rank organically, but that doesn't mean that you can pay for it. So without question, we filter out any listing regardless of where they're ranked if they don't have a product that has the same modifiers as ours. If we're selling an oil and they're selling a balm, we're not going to go ahead and put that balm as a core competitor to look at their keyword database, right? Because their keywords aren't going to be related to ours, because in reality they have a balm and we have an oil. So we really look for people and competitors that have a product that's very similar in all of the features and benefits to ours, true features of our product, so that we get really good competitive keyword data when we take those through a reverse ASIN tool like Helium 10.
Yes, and building on that, I have someone asking about quantity. If they're selling a high quantity of a product, do they want to look for those competitors that are selling the same quantity? Does the quantity matter because it's the same product? How do we address stuff like that? If you're selling a product in a pack of 10 versus a pack of 100. How do you kind of address that?
That's an interesting question. At that point, it's you're going to have your own challenges with advertising a larger pack, because not every shopper, of course, is looking. At this point, let's clarify this, and this is all about your strategic merchandising, but from a merchandising standpoint, there's no one shopper, one solution in any product. If that were the case, Levi's wouldn't make boot cut, skinny, and high-waisted jeans, right? They wouldn't have to do that, nor would they, because of course it's tricky to manufacture multiple lines. People are not of single preference in anything. There's usually about 5 to 6 categories that people will fall into that they like. And there's some great studies done by that by Malcolm Gladwell that talked a lot about it in his books. There's some great studies about buyer preference and just personal preference. So when you're coming in with a big pack of something, you just have to assume that not all shoppers want that many. There just would be no possibility of that being true. So you're going to need to know that a lot of your clicks coming into a high package count may be clicks that don't convert to sales, because they may immediately bounce and go look for a lower volume or lower commitment purchase. So in that strategy, I would say go for the low hanging fruit of the minimum that a person would buy, and I would have on your product page multiple options to upgrade into higher packaging amounts, but I would advertise the lowest possible possible amount they could buy for several, advantageous reasons. One, because the buyer commitment, you're going to get more clicks to sales, which is what you need to make advertising work if you have a lower commitment request. And then 2, your price point is going to look competitive you're going to need to match what's going on organically at the lowest number. So if you go to Amazon organically and you put in this product and you see like the average is a 1-pack or 2-pack and it's priced at blank, or let's say it's priced at $10, well, you got to get a 1 or a 2-pack in there if you're going to advertise at $10, because that's what is the most popular among shoppers. And then more importantly, that is what you are going to want to be advertising to get it to be profitable. If you put like a 20-pack or a 30-pack into that search and you don't, now unless you go to your main seed keywords and you see all the popular products on Amazon are indeed doing big bulk packs, then you have a different product. And at that point, you just compete against everybody else. It doesn't matter. But my suggestion is always, if you have different packaging options, on your product page in that child-parent relationship, I definitely wouldn't be locking that in to only high volume, especially if you're advertising it. I would be going with whatever is the most popular package option, so the most shoppers will take it.
Awesome. Just a quick general question, and then I have a follow-up one about the spreadsheet that we offered. With these strategies and this keyword research, is this treated the same for a new product as well as an established product?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. If you're doing advertising, absolutely, whether it's a new product or an established product, it's going to be the same research cycle. Just know that if it's a new product without a lot of reviews or a lot of like established history with the sales history with Amazon's algorithm, if it's new, it's going to be more expensive to advertise new products than existing, right? That's always going to be the case. And I'll tell you why. That just is because, one, a new product has no sales history with the algorithm. So you may need to pay a lot more initially on your bids to gain trust with the algorithm and build that history. So a brand new product is a little more expensive because you don't have enough history established organically or paid with the algorithm to get really good low click prices based on your existing sales velocity. So that's going to be one place it can be a little more pricey. Second place is reviews, of course, and having good reviews and plenty of them. The more reviews you have, the stronger your product is. So when you come to market, now you're going to have to advertise your products at some point. You'll never get over the hump without getting these products onto the first page of search at some point in time, or on your competitors' pages to get some of this market share. But when you do it, and the timing is fairly important. If you don't have a lot of reviews, it's not going to convert. If you have below 4.5 star reviews, it's not going to convert. You'll have to get those pieces of your listing really optimized before you invest any advertising money into them. So the other thing about a new product that can be challenging, and this is very important and there's no way around it, is just the simple fact that you don't have organic rank. Like, part of your strategy in advertising is to establish sales history so you can get some organic rank, right? And so your goal is to get that organic visibility through advertising by showing the algorithm that you can sell on specific keywords. So when you start to do that, you don't have organic rank out the gate on a new product. So then, unfortunately, the only visibility you're going to get, which is better than none, is paid ads, right? If you don't have organic visibility, you don't get the free clicks. You have to get the only clicks that you can acquire are paid ones. So when that starts to happen, it can be a little more expensive to advertise because you don't get that balancing point of like, oh, here's the clicks of mine that were paid, here's the clicks of mine that were free in the organic listing. That's one of the more beautiful things about Amazon advertising, is it really is a growth. The reason the growth works so well strategically is because the paid and organic start to work together. And one of the ways that works together as you get traction is that you get a lot of free clicks, but you get a lot of visibility on the ads, but then people start to click the organic placements. So it's a really great strategy on the long view, but if you have a brand new product, there's really no way to escape that you have to invest to get that product ranked on Amazon and get some sales history. So that's going to be the biggest difference between a new product and established. The more established your product is, the more likely it's going to take off much more rapidly with ads and be less expensive to advertise.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a minimum number of reviews you suggest for a new product before investing in advertising?
Well, at least 5, but I think even then, just as many reviews as you can get, because it's just such a key element to the trust factor, right? It's like, it's such a key element to conversion and trust on Amazon.com reviews that you really want to make sure your review strategy is really solid before you go investing in advertising. Because again, there's no real rush, right? I mean, there is a rush to get ranked. As soon as your product is live, you want to be doing everything you can. You cannot keep it still. But, you know, if you're driving like whatever strategy you're using, whether it's viral or organic, I mean, however you're getting those reviews, and as long as you're driving traffic to the product pages and getting those reviews, whatever your particular strategy is, you're doing great things for your listing. So I certainly wouldn't, like, you know, pull the trigger too fast and try to force a product into advertising that isn't positioned to advertise successfully, because it is a long game. You're going to be doing this for months and then years, right? So, I mean, we have ads that are 2 years running, you know what I mean? Like, they're going to stay running. I've been running ads for 15 years and they're still, I mean, you know, the ads are going to stay there for a very long time when you take market leadership. So you don't want to push it too fast, and you really want to focus on getting the right amount of reviews where you look at the page and really just look at it through the lens of a shopper. Do you have enough content in the review section of your page to establish trust? Is the conversation around your product substantial and trustworthy and really giving people all these indicators it's a great buy? And until you have reviews that really show that kind of data, then I would continue to push on reviews till I had that type of content. It's just content. You want to look at it for readability, for trust, for you know, for features and benefits, like how people describe it, for the quality of the ratings, like, yeah. So it's really not about how many reviews you have as much as the quality of those reviews and how they can add to the shopper's experience, right? How that shopper can get, you know, fired up by those reviews to go click add to cart. So I think it's more important, like, the quality of the reviews and the quantity, but I wouldn't go with any less than 5. And I would really be very focused on how those reviews are positioned as well.
Mm-hmm. Another question that we're getting a lot of repeats on is, when you're choosing your top competitors, if your product is the same but there's a large price gap between, you know, you're either probably a lot higher than who's ranking higher than you, your price is, how do you handle that?
Well, I mean, if you need to be priced in a way that you can afford advertising today in Amazon. I mean, there's no doing Amazon without some level of advertising, because, well, Amazon, of course, first and foremost, the platform is getting, you know, much more open and people are aware of it. But even more importantly than that, if we weren't even on this session, if no one was talking about it, Amazon itself is talking about it. So Amazon advertising is their biggest initiative inside the company to really, they're trying to grow that division. It's at the top of in every one of the business conversations and every one of the analyst conversations and people that look at the stock. I mean, they're all about Amazon advertising. So Amazon's really pushing this out. So since Amazon is putting its team up against, you know, letting people know they have advertising, you know, you're just going to enter a place where you can't afford to not advertise, because they take the top positions in search. So with that in mind, you really need to make sure that your margins accommodate ad spend. And if your competitor isn't doing that, then he just might be locked in from a long time ago. And at some point, someone like you will come along and take his traffic. So I don't believe that you want to be pricing in any way. It's like, if your product is better, or your product has like a unique differentiator, if it's an identical product and it's cheaper, that's tough, you know what I mean? But that's just, you know, merchandising 101, right? You can't have an identical product and someone else has it cheaper. That would be tricky. But if your features and benefits are better, or the quality of the product or the branding of the product is stronger, at that point you need to leave your price higher so that you can have margin, because you're going to need to kind of, you know, to keep powering your visibility to pass that competitor.
Definitely. And since we were talking about reviews, I've got a couple of questions here asking if you have any suggestions or strategies on how to get more reviews if they've got low reviews right now.
I don't have any strategy on that. And again, it's just one of those things that it's such an organic thing. It's much more of like it's a PR strategy. I'm in advertising, so advertising is really about driving sales and velocity and getting products in front of shoppers at scale and competing to get those spots. But press and PR is more the world of reviews, you know, and social and just community. There's all sorts of things that relate to that, and it's not really really an advertising thing. So, when you're running your ad campaigns at scale, you're going to see more reviews happen kind of organically, but it's not the kind of volume that's going to be game changing right away. But definitely advertising over time is going to add to the reviews without question. But I think the main thing is just to dig deep and figure out who your buyer is and start to build that relationship with them in an organic way. I don't believe that reviews are going to be something that you're going to win through paid ads, because just paid ads are, they're not designed to have like intimate conversations. It's another part of your marketing funnel. I think reviews have to be somehow in a deep connection with the buyer. So yeah, I don't have any suggestions on that.
Okay, awesome. I do have a lot of people asking about, and I think we're going to cover this next week. I'm not 100% sure, but you can let me know. The market share tab on the sheet that we shared. A lot of people are asking about that market share tab. How do they fill that out? Are we going to cover it soon? Where are we at with that?
That's so interesting. I'll have to kind of look at that. So with that sheet, we're going to update the sheet, first of all, to kind of flip it over to jeans so that we have a much more detailed product to go through. Our first shot there at Beard Oil, I think it could be better. I think there could be more data. But the Beard Oil data is solid. Like if we were selling beard oil, that would be our competitor sheet. But I think that we'll probably flip that out and go after jeans. But definitely market share is what we're covering next week. So without question, if you're looking at a blank tab, it's because we haven't added that data in yet.
Yep, I've got about 10 questions asking how to do that, and I thought that we were going to cover it next week, but I wasn't sure, so I wanted to clarify. Just because everybody keeps asking. And when looking at competitors and you're using the competitor sheets and everything, what do you look at? Do you look at units sold or do you look at revenue? What kind of tell is more important to you? What data do you like to look at better when choosing competitors?
Such a good question. Really, units sold is your key indicator. I mean, if you're trying to see like who has velocity, units sold is the indicator of traffic to the page. If you're targeting those pages for traffic like we're going to do in Act 2, if you're going to put your ads on their product pages, I mean, obviously orders is going to be indicative of higher volume of traffic regardless of sales revenue, because sales revenue is more indicative. Sales revenue is going to fluctuate based on the price of the product. So I'd say orders, definitely more conclusive on the order side, but I tend to sort by sales velocity because most of the products are comparably priced. But if you see a really broad variation in pricing, like we just discussed, for sure, sort by orders.
Awesome. And for students asking how to fill out that sheet, would you suggest going back and having them watch the videos again? I mean, going through it right now would take quite a bit of time.
Filling out the sheet. You just got to kind of model it. It was just there as a template so you could see the data that we pull. I mean, you'll want to go through on your main seed keywords, and you're just going to want to start compiling your competitors' ASINs and your competitors' titles, and you'll just want to start to organize that data. I always like to have that one column where we attribute the source of the data. Okay, it's organic, it's paid, it's bestseller. We really like to attribute that. Anything that's overlapping, I normally highlight because it shows me who's my fiercest competitor, who I'm coming after first. So yeah, I think that you just want to compile this. You just want to get in there and start going on to Amazon.com for your keywords and start to compile the competitors into your own sheet. Just use that as a reference point. Don't try to use that one. It's just go ahead and go start grabbing competitors and create those column headers and type in the information and get yourself a good list of 10 competitors. It shouldn't take longer than an afternoon. Or even a good evening to get that done. So yeah, you can pretty much knock that out really quickly, but you'll definitely want to spend a full day kind of getting that organized and just a few hours actually compiling the data itself.
Awesome. That's the general questions that we have for competitive analysis. A lot of them are going into stuff that we're going to go over in the next few weeks.
Great.
As far as campaign structure and all of that goes. So I would like to switch over to keyword research and keyword research tools.
Nice.
With you.
Okay, that's perfect. And then we'll also take a look at what's come in today. Or Melissa, have you been kind of gauging both, like what came in Tuesday and today? Is already done.
I've been gauging both so that we, they're kind of building on each other, which is great. You guys are adding questions in as we're going, so I can ask her follow-up questions as she's answering the other ones, which is awesome. So definitely keep those coming. But do know that, if we're not going over it right now, it's because it's a topic that we're going to cover soon. So we have a lot of people asking about bids and budgets and campaign structure, which aren't topics that we've gone over yet.
Yeah,
so,
those will take a full 4 weeks to show you. Like, that is why it's 4 weeks of the training. I mean, it's 4 hours of training on that. Like, it's not as if we can cover in a simple Q&A how to do your bids and budgets. The very best thing I can tell you guys on that stuff is to go back to the preview videos and the preview downloads. That's going to give you a high level, I mean, talking 20 minutes there, it's not a lot, but a high level overview of how to do it. But when it comes to the actual strategy, it will take a full 4 weeks to go through that. It's pretty detailed. So for sure, we will dive into that in Act 2 after we get all the research out of the way and really get, focused on what we're going to be targeting.
Awesome. So diving into keyword research and tools questions, we've kind of already gone over this one. These strategies do translate into different products. You can definitely follow the same steps for your product and make them your own. So don't worry about that. We've had a couple of people say that, but we already kind of went over that a minute ago. Within the Helium 10 tool, the reverse ASIN tool that you've had them use for a few things, would you treat these keywords differently than keywords you found through the regular keyword research?
That's a good question. Okay, yeah, no, you will. Well, in 2 ways. Okay, so if you pull a reverse ASIN from Helium 10, there's a couple things you can do there. If I'm trying to kind of look for good modifiers or I love that on a competitor's page. Like if they have a different modifier or a different keyword showing up that really describes my product nicely, then I like to take that and add it to my keyword list. From a competitive standpoint, I definitely do that. I do that for all of my top 10 competitors. If they have a broad range modified keyword that I could put into shop and it's not something I already have and it's got search volume, I definitely grab it. Now, that's one way to use that data and the first way to use that data. Now, the second way to use that data is to do the filtering that we covered in class 1, where you go ahead and take the main brand name for that particular ASIN and you load that up to get a list of keywords that you can add into its own sponsored products ad group within your campaign for competitors. So for example, we did the example of beard oil and the main competitor was Viking. And so I went into the reverse ASIN tool. I am going to look at the broad, whatever it shows me for all the keywords and say, oh, those could be good. And we could use some of these in terms of seeds for our main targeting for advertising. And then I'm also going to say, okay, put in the word Viking into the filter, and I'm going to say, show me only the keywords that contain this brand name, and I'm going to pick 10 to 15 keywords that are really relevant to what I sell into the Viking beard oil, and I'm going to put those into a competitive campaign, and I'm going to set them as broad and phrase match. Broad or phrase, whichever you prefer, but definitely broader phrase. So that's how I'm going to use those on the Viking side as a competitive targeting. And then of course, if they have good synonyms or keywords I had overlooked in terms of seed keywords, I'm going to pull those in addition. So yeah, I use that on all 10 competitors and I use it both ways.
Awesome. And I know we've gone over this before and I know what your answer is going to be. Everybody's asking about minimum and maximum keywords that you should mine from the research.
There's no minimum or maximum. Essentially, the minimum and maximum is going to, again, it's going to depend on your product because it's the way people shop. Some people use a lot of search term variations. Certain products have a lot of modifiers, and then other products only have a few. Some products are very simple. You know, people only search for a particular size or a particular color, and then after they're done, they go buy. But then other keywords, like we talked about, could have things like waterproof or different like features like skinny versus boot cut versus, you know, high-waisted. It really just depends on your product and how much people, you know, actually vary their search queries when looking for your stuff. And that's how many you add. The qualifier is not how many keywords. The qualifier is when to add a keyword, and that is 2+ sales conclusive in a search term report. You have to have some data showing you that keyword converts. So your modifier there, so it's not really about like how many keywords you have. I'll just put any keyword that sells. And if it has 2+ orders, it goes in there for me, because if it's selling, it's ready to go. So it's really based on the fact is, does the keyword sell? Does it sell at your target ACoS? and you have 2+ sales to show you it's proven a little bit. And from that point, they could be added into your campaign, and it doesn't matter if you have 100 or if you have 1,000, they're all going to work for you. So at that point, it's going to be based on how many searches your product gets and how much variance there is in the way people look for it.
Awesome. And going with modifiers, we have some people asking how you choose your modifiers. You know, is there any criteria that you use, or is it just the general putting yourself in the customer's shoes?
Customer shoes. And then, of course, if I've used a modifier in my title, I'm going to grab that one first because it's going to have text relation, right? They're going to match. If I've used it in my title, I'm going to grab it. But I'm really just filtering all the potential keywords in my category to determine which ones describe my product most closely. I'm really just trying to get as close as I can to the buy there so that I can start getting some data. Again, as I scale and expand, I like to take it across all sorts of, the whole browse, shop, buy funnel as I kind of grow out. But when I'm starting and I'm just trying to have an understanding of how a product sells, I think it's best, especially in today's Amazon game where it's so competitive and it's just a lot going on out there right now. It's very good to start close with modifiers that are in your title. And if they're not in your title, they just need to really describe your product so specifically. And that's all I'm looking for is okay, does this describe my product? Like when a shopper puts that modified keyword in, is it indicative that they are looking for the exact features or benefits my product is going to deliver? Because that's another thing on that. With modifiers, let me clarify that for you too, going back to reviews and modifiers. The wrong modifier can get you really bad reviews. So a lot of people will get excited because a particular keyword has a lot of volume, but it really doesn't describe the features and benefits of their product, yet they advertise on it and then they convert sales on it. But you know what happens is they get terrible reviews, because if it's not going to deliver what the shopper's intent is, right? The shopper gets pretty clear. They want skinny jeans. Those are form-fitting, tight, skinny jeans. If you sell a pair of skinny jeans that aren't especially skinny for some reason, and you let the shopper buy those because they didn't inform themselves or didn't spend enough time looking at, images or whatever on your page, then you have like a double down problem, because they're going to leave a review saying these weren't skinny. These weren't skinny at all. These were ill-fitted. So you really want to avoid anything in your keywords that doesn't describe your product exactly when you're starting out advertising. One, for sales history, and two, to kind of protect your product listing from people buying a product that isn't actually going to deliver what they want to buy. They have to be just delighted with whatever Amazon ships them.
Does this keyword research that we're doing in these strategies, would you vary it at all based on low or high dollar purchases, or would you go about each the same way?
I would go about each the same way, because the way the shopper shops, that's just what they're going to do. Now, pricing in itself is an entire game in merchandising. I mean, it is like a retail, it's a whole concept, like press and reviews and social. Pricing in itself is like, you could do an entire class just on pricing, right? An entire series, and it would take a pricing expert. But you could do a lot with pricing. We personally, in the stuff that we run, we get such high conversion rates on Amazon. People on Amazon buy like crazy. We don't have any trouble, kind of getting that granular. We go right after where people are shopping and where they're buying, and we get our product right into the mix. So in my experience, I've never had to filter any keywords based on price point. But again, you could have a very nuanced product with nuanced pricing that I'm not familiar with.
Right, definitely. We have had a couple of people ask about how these strategies translate into international markets. Do you have any kind of thoughts or suggestions for that?
Yeah, your very first step with international markets is to take your seed keywords. Okay, first of all, here's a big one. Okay, first of all, here's like the number one tip on international markets, because we have done this. The main thing you want to be cautious of is you don't need to kind of overlap all your keywords into all your markets at once, right? Again, this is a money shot, right? And the first rule in money is that you don't lose it, right? So when you're making small bets, your first goal, of course, your first goal is to make some money, but that's not your first goal. Your first goal is to not lose any money. And then your second goal is to make some money. And your third goal is to make a lot of money, right? So first goal is don't lose money. So if you're trying not to lose money, I would not suggest that you take your keywords that you're running in the States if they haven't been tested, vetted, optimized, and proven in your search term reports. I would not go take these random keywords and just test them in the US and your international markets all at the same time. You should get your proven concepts working here in one campaign in the US, and then you're going to see some variance, what's going to happen in the other markets, but you should at least get your core converting modified seed keywords, your big keywords that are going to drive your sales, those, 20% that drive the 80. Get those defined, and then move over and start putting them into international markets. Don't be testing in both at the same time. That's a quick way to lose a lot of money. Then the next thing I would suggest is using a keyword tool that does international translation. There's quite a few of them out in you'll have to look into the SEO keywords. You could go ahead and Google this, but look for keyword tools for international translation or keyword translation tools. I know some of them like Moz. There's a few tools that actually will translate. Moz is the first one that comes to mind. I don't know if they still have the feature, but historically Moz has had a feature. It used to be SEO Moz with Rand, but now it's not with Rand and it's just Moz. But that used to have a really great feature that you could go in and do some international translation. So I hope it still does. If it does, that's a good win for you. You're going to need to use a keyword tool. You may be able to get, another thing I've seen is some of the tools like Helium 10 will also give you international results. And then you can, of course, I think tools like Merchant Words, which is fairly inexpensive. I think they have some international stuff. But your main goal though the reason I say to use a translation tool is you want to get your keywords that convert out of your search term report and then translate those for the other markets if they're in different languages. Obviously the UK and Canada are going to use the same keyword base, but when you're going to other international markets where there's a language difference, my suggestion is not to go pull different language keywords as much as take the keywords that work in your big market, in your main US market, and then translate those to the other markets after you have some data that they're going to be profitable for you.
Awesome. Let me go here to the next one. We did have a couple of people say that my mic volume is low. Is there a way that we can adjust that?
Yeah. Let's see. Now I'm no audio pro, but I'm going to test it. How's that? Test again, Melissa.
Hopefully that's a little bit better. Yeah, if someone wants to send me some feedback on that had commented on that previously, that would be awesome. And we did that one.
It seems louder in my ears, but that doesn't mean anything. I know nothing. But we can have Sergio look at that. I'll make a note because I think Andy commented on that too.
Okay, great. All right. So this next one, doing keyword research. Helium 10 is the main tool that we're using, which is awesome tool. Highly suggest it to all the students. Oh, sounds good. We've got a feedback that says sounds good.
Okay, good. Thanks for that. We'll make sure that we set the volume here next time.
For sure. Can you discuss using the current Amazon advertising reports that are provided through Seller Central? Are any of those useful in keyword research, or should they stick to Helium 10 for the beginning step?
Oh my gosh, any of your existing advertising reports are golden. So the thing that I would say with Amazon advertising reports, your first report you have to download is a 60-day search term report. I know I talk about it a lot. You'll probably be sick of hearing about it after we get done with this training. But your 60-day search term report, we call it the STR around here. You just go ahead and get into Amazon advertising, go to reports, Amazon advertising, Seller Central, hit your advertising reports tab, and then you're going to go and download a search term report. And Melissa, why don't you go ahead and clarify all the settings on that so we can make sure that they have that too.
Yeah, so the settings for your search term report, I'm going to go ahead and pull up Amazon right now, and I can kind of just walk you guys through that.
Because I think I'll let her tell you in a minute, but you're going to go ahead and just pull your 60 days. Like the data only goes back so far, and we don't need to get too granular on this call, Melissa, but it just might be good if there's some special settings in there we want to say. But we usually go back 60 days. That's as far as it's going to go for us. And then we download that report, and then you go ahead and sort your search term report first by campaign in the campaign column, and then by sales. So we kind of look at it across both, and you're looking at both keywords and search terms for data. Another report that's very useful that you can download is not in the Advertising Center, but it's actually over, if you go into sponsored products, you have a bulk download upload tab in sponsored products, and your bulk download sheet is also great to give you data on which keywords are converting and how they're performing on ACOS and other things. For a lot of our more advanced reports, we have an analyst that formats everything and does all of our deep dive and sets up tables and stuff for me to review. And when we do that, we use the bulk download for almost everything. It's really got tons of good data. And then just so you know, I started out just in all the campaigns, just started out running these manually, sorting these manually. Every single product that I got doubled up in sales, I did with manual sorts without question. Search term report was first and foremost. Bulk download came later. But both those tools are really useful to get a good handle on the keywords that you're already running. I mean, keep in mind that that's only useful if you've invested in advertising and you have good data, or at least general data about what's working and not working. Those are going to be the best places for you to find that data.
Definitely. And the way that you're going to find this report, if you don't know how to find the report, you're going to go into your Amazon Seller Central. You're going to go to Reports and then Advertising Reports. And within that page, you're going to find the Advertising Reports page, all campaigns for sponsored products. Your report type is going to stay search term. There are about 6 different options you can choose from. Pick search term. That's the one you want. I always find it helpful to change the report name to the dates that we're running. So, sponsored products and then the dates that we're running for that 60 days. Then you're going to want to go to report period. It automatically sets to last month. You're going to want to customize that and go back as far as you can. It'll let you go back about 60 days, which is perfect. And then your data unit is going to say total. And then hit create report, and it'll create a report. It takes a couple minutes to create, and then you can download it and take a look at it. It is a great report. It's full of so much information, and I've looked at hundreds, if not thousands.
I know. So many search term reports. Search term reports are the gold. Yeah, it's like, you never stop. You never stop. So yeah, you start in the beginning and then you go in. And every single month, you're diving deep into those reports. There's gold every month when your campaigns are set up right. Seriously, you're going to find new keywords by, dozens and sometimes hundreds, depending on the type of product you have. But yeah, so especially with some of the strategies we've covered here with your phrase and broad match and picking those modifiers, you're going to get killer search term reports. When you hit week 5, that's when all of it pays off. It looks kind of funny just running in the ad groups, right? Because again, we're not trying to make our money on those basic ad groups. We're trying to scale. And the idea of scale is to find new keywords and expand continually, right? That's the definition of scale. So we're not trying, it's to grow. So we're definitely, the initial keywords that you set up, even in single groups, they're going to perform much better. And we've got some good feedback on that. But at the same time, the gold is by putting those singles in what you get out of that search term. So your search term right now may be a little uneventful, but in the end, it'll be really good. And we'll take a whole class on how to go deep into the search term report in session 5.
Fantastic. And that's going to be good that search term report's going to be good for keyword research. It's going to be great for optimization of your campaigns and your keywords. You're going to get so much information and such great stuff out of that. So stay tuned to that because that's going to be awesome. Let me see here on the next question. That's kind of what we've got for keyword research.
Great. Such good questions. It's a really solid session. And I'm really glad that we got to communicate today that even in your competitive research, if you're looking at my sheet and you're watching the video and you're still puzzled and scratching your head, that is very logical because you don't know how to do it and you won't know how to do it till you do it. So you should scratch your head after watching. The idea is to give you as much insight as possible. Then you go do it, and then by doing it, you're going to get super clear on what I'm talking about. It will all come back together, or at least bring you to a place to ask another good question. But without question, you should feel a bit puzzled. If you are watching something that I show you and you have never done it, it should feel like something you have never done, right? So it'll be easy to get out there and get it done. So with your competitors, it's the same thing. Just start compiling those ASINs, start putting your notes, try to match what I've done there, and pretty soon you're going to get some flow, and then you're going to bridge that knowing doing gap, and you're going to feel really good about the content and proceeding forward.
Awesome. So, and with bringing up those search terms, we're getting a lot of questions about what to do with those keywords and everything. That's a topic we're going to cover later. So don't go off and like pause all your keywords and add things to things. And, we just wanted to bring that up as kind of a general, that's a great place to look for keywords. But I'm having a lot of people ask me, so what do I do now? Well, we're going to definitely go over that later, but we're going to try to kind of segue into some campaign management and campaign structure questions that we've gotten a lot of repeats on. Because you guys, we love that you're eager and we love that you're getting so much out of this class, which is fantastic. But a lot of you really want to hit the ground running, and we totally understand that. So we've gotten a lot of questions. These are just kind of the general, I've seen probably 15 or 20 of these questions.
Okay, good. So we'll knock them out.
And so we're getting started.
And the other thing I wanted to cover on that really quick. And so it's the top of the hour. So we're done with all of class 1 and 2 wrap up. So anybody that is still working on just mastering class 1 and 2, you're good to go. We've given you everything we've got on those classes and the follow-up questions, including your own. Now what we'll devote the next probably half hour to is just looking at campaign structure stuff, ways to clean up existing campaigns. We're not going to tell you how to build a whole new campaign because like we said, that would takeaways, but we are going to definitely talk to you about how to clean up what you have and how to kind of start integrating some of the new strategies into what you have. And then on Melissa's note there, you were talking about the search term report and what to do with it. The only thing that you can do with, with your search term report right now confidently is to sort by campaign so you know what product you're looking at, and then sort by orders, highest to lowest, and then look at which of your keywords and your search terms are driving your sales. That's the most important data you'll ever get in your life. Like there is no more important data in advertising than that simple question. So that great kind of strategy in business where it's never about having the right answers. It's all about having the right questions. That's the question. Like your question every day when you come into advertising is, what keywords are selling? What keywords are driving sales? What keywords are converting profitably for me, right? So your search term report, the only thing you want out of that, sorting orders by highest to lowest, is which keywords are driving sales, which keywords are converting at your target ACoS, so that you know that you can already say that you want more of that. You want more of those keywords working for you. You want to allow the keywords that are already working for you because they're showing up in your search term report, so there's no urgent sense of moving them yet, but at least you know they're there. And then when you go do your keyword research, those are the keywords that you want to expand on, put into Helium 10 already structured, and see what you can get, right? Different variations of the keywords that are already converting to sales for you.
Awesome. And I did have somebody ask a question about, with this keyword research, these are basic keyword research strategies. And even if they're concerned that Amazon's going to change their whole platform for sponsored products soon, and so they're wondering if this data is going to be outdated. But this is the same keyword research you've been using for years, right, Sheree?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Years, for since the beginning of time. I mean, for 15 years. Like, keyword research doesn't date. Like, these are the way you're not trying to find a tactic, and that's why we're staying clear of, we'll use 10 keywords with this word in it. It's not tactical. We're giving you the strategy in the sense that you're really paying attention to the modified searches that show your shopper's intent. That's never going to change in the history of time. Your shopper is never going to change the way they search. They're never going to come to Amazon and stop looking for the word skinny jeans. They don't, if you go into a retail store, there's skinny jeans and bootcut jeans. They have their own sections on the display shelves for a darn good reason, because that's how shoppers shop, right? So the way your shopper shops for the product, especially when you're looking at hundreds of thousands of searches, like women's jeans in the 500,000 a month, 500,000 people are never going to change the way they search for products. So when you start to discover the features and benefits that have your shoppers buy, that translates to every channel. It translates to Facebook, it translates to Google, it translates to Instagram. It doesn't matter where you're promoting your product, free or paid. If you're doing SEO, if you're doing article promotion, if you're reaching out for reviews to bloggers, it's always going to be the same set of features and benefits, and shoppers are never going to change their path to purchase. Now, when they come through Amazon, those other competitors are a unique path to purchase, right? So that's not going to change either. The stuff that's selling on Amazon is going to keep selling on Amazon. As long as you're tracking it and you're advertising on those pages, you're going to be right where you need to be. So you're really not in a place where they will change their platform all the time without question. And then sometimes you're going to find like campaign interface changes, but the fundamentals of what we're covering here have been the beginning of pay-per-click advertising, which is what we're doing here in Amazon advertising. And it's been this way since Google launched it in the beta. So pay-per-click advertising has always had campaigns, always had ad groups, always had keywords, always had match types. And then in the more advanced platforms like Google, you separate placement and you separate search. There's two different, display and search. So all of the pay-per-click fundamentals exist across all advertising channels. And Google uses pay-per-click and Facebook uses pay-per-click. So really, no matter where you're advertising, the core fundamentals of what we're covering here, nothing is going to change. Nothing at all. You're going to have to be tactically different. Like, oh, they set it differently and now we have a setting to put blank kind of bid in or something like that. It still won't change your whole strategy because you're going to understand your bids, you're going to understand your rank, you're going to understand, all the metrics that really matter for your campaign. So yeah, you're going to be kind of immune to changes that would impact your strategy. Tactically, you may have to make a few adjustments, but strategically, it's going to be the same strategy.
Awesome. Okay, so going into the questions that we're getting about campaign structure and campaign management, as we're going through all this, this is a question I've gotten from a lot of people. What should I do with my already active campaigns, ad groups, and keywords?
Such a good question. Okay, first of all, it depends on how they're performing. My first suggestion is that you go into each. Okay, well, first of all, you should use your existing campaigns to add into the new stuff you're kind of pulling from these classes. So if you're going to segment your keywords into their own ad groups, you can do it within an existing campaign with sales history, right? You don't want to start green if you don't have to. If your campaign has sales history, use it. So go ahead and segment your single groups within your existing campaign. You don't even have to really shut stuff down, because if you're going to increase your bids in the single groups, those bids are going to beat out the other keywords and eventually they'll filter themselves out. You don't even have to pause them. So my suggestion is that you put new ad groups, especially scale and single keywords, as we get into those sessions in Act 2. I'm going to suggest that you build those into your existing campaigns, that you spend a ton of time on research and you find keywords that you'd never thought of, both out of your search term reports. You should be spending at least a week in that search term report. If you have the kind of campaigns running where you're asking what to do with them and how to get them right, you should have massive data in the search term report. So I would definitely be starting there. And then after going in and looking at your search term report, I would be adding the new stuff into your existing campaigns and let it phase itself out. But on a kind of housekeeping question, and hold on one second here. Okay, so I would really change that up a little bit, and I would be going in and pausing keywords. I would go into your either like a bulk download file, or I would just get into your campaign manager and I would be sorting your keywords by sales, highest to lowest, and I would be pausing keywords that aren't performing well, that don't have a lot of sales. I'd be pausing keywords that have clicks and no sales, and people asked about that. I would say a keyword there goes that cut. I hope it's okay. All right, Melissa, we're going to need a sound check from Andy, because sometimes it will do that little audio clip.
Okay, I heard it.
It pops. Yeah, it just does that. It's something to do with the live stream. I'm not sure. At least we only get one per session, and only after an hour, which is good.
Yep, let me check.
I think we're pretty clear, but I'll just keep going, and then if there is something, we had it. Here he is. We're fine. Okay. So essentially, the one thing that you want to be thinking about there is as you go in and you're going to be going in. I think I lost my train of thought because that pop kind of. Yeah.
Andy says we sound good. So
okay, good. All right, good stuff. So Melissa, where was I out of my train of thought? That pop threw me off. Did it throw you off too?
I'll be honest, I was reading it.
I know, right? I was like, holy cow, that
Can't
scared
even
me.
tell you.
Okay, so if we're talking about structuring, okay, going through your keywords and pausing them, right?
Yeah.
So you really want to be able to go in and you want to sort your keywords, and anything, I think anything that has 10 clicks or more that hasn't converted to sales on Amazon, you can pause, especially if it's just a zero sales. You're going lifetime in the campaign sorting, you're setting it lifetime, you're looking at your keywords, just really any keyword that doesn't have, and you're in the keyword view. So for those of you that are not familiar with that, you go from the campaign into the ad group, you click on these, and then in the ad group to the keyword tab, and you view the existing keywords that you have running in your campaign, and you sort that data by sales, and then you start to pour through all the keywords that have had clicks, and if they haven't had sales, I would shut them down. That'd be the first thing I would do. And then I would say if you have a ton of keywords in your account that aren't relevant, that are just driving up clicks or impressions and they're not converting, someone had mentioned they had thousands of keywords, that's a recipe for disaster. You should be going back through your lifetime stats in your campaign manager. You should be looking at all the keywords you dumped in there. And if this is any indicator why you're taking this class, is because that is not manageable. If you've put 1,000 keywords into your campaigns, there's no possible way that you can manage that many keywords on any given day. If you're running like thousands of keywords that don't have sales data, or you don't really understand what they're doing or not doing, there's no way that you're making strategic decisions about your investment in advertising if you've got thousands of keywords in there and no idea of where they're structured or why they're there. So you want to get rid of those out the gate. And what I mean there is, don't get rid of anything that's selling or anything that's performing. What you want to do is just get rid of the keywords that are just sitting in your campaign. You can sort by impressions, and you can look at impressions and clicks. And when you look at impressions and clicks, you're going to get a good understanding of like where you're getting traffic and it's not converting or performing for you. So keywords that are getting 0 impressions, 0 clicks lifetime, you don't need them in there. You really don't need them in there. Keywords that have impressions and low clicks, you really don't need those in there. Keywords that have clicks and no sales, you don't need those guys either. So my first thing would be to get into the campaign manager, no report, just the campaign manager, and get rid of some keywords. And you can get rid of pages and pages of keywords, because I have done this for clients. You can get rid of pages of irrelevant keywords all in one sort. It'll take you a couple hours in an afternoon, but if there's no traffic on those keywords, or heaven forbid there is traffic and it's just looking bad because it's not clicking or converting, man, get them out of there. They're wasting all your bandwidth. They're blowing some of your budget. They're damaging your sales history. And from a management standpoint, it's just not manageable unless you can look at your keywords and know immediately what's winning and what's losing, what's making you money and what's losing you money. If you can't make those decisions on the fly out of your campaign structure, which is what you're going to learn to do here, then they're not serving you at all, because that's the whole idea of management, is you have to manage it, you have to measure it. So I would suggest getting rid of a lot of that stuff, and I would do it just with the sorts I just mentioned. Go by impressions, go by clicks, go by sales. Anything that's not, working in those 3 categories has got to go.
Awesome. Oh, I just had somebody say the audio is out. Can anybody else, well, if they can't hear me, they can't hear me, but somebody said the audio is out. I wonder if Andy can confirm or deny that.
Yeah, we might be at the end of our Q&A. I hope not.
I
don't think so.
I just got a couple more things. Well, we'll just keep going because I've only had one person say that. So,
okay.
With going into that and using these new strategies, pausing keywords, deleting keywords, doing all the things that, Andy says we sound good. So
okay, great.
I had somebody say, I paused a successful campaign, and now that I've enabled it again, I'm not seeing any impressions. Is there an action within the algorithm that would trigger to send more traffic to my campaign again, or what should I do?
No, you just enable it. If you really want to push it up, you can put your bids up a little bit. You can up bid just a tiny bit, but normally you just need to be patient with it. It's going to take some time to get back in traffic. Like if a campaign goes down, you don't need to micromanage it. Like give it a couple days to get some impressions back in. If you still don't see impressions after say 48 hours, 48 hours would be the minimum that you could really judge that. Then I would go in and increase, I would increase my bids a little bit and see until I started seeing some impressions.
Okay, great. Another question as far as campaign management goes within keywords. I have a keyword that applies to two products.
Okay,
Do
wait.
I need to decide which?
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
Melissa. I'm going
Sorry.
to go back one step on that when you're saying you're not getting any
Yeah.
impressions. I think it's also important to know that make sure you check your ads eligibility, because sometimes if you're not in the buy box or if you've run out of inventory, the ad is going to read ineligible because the listing's not ready to go yet. So if you've had any issues that got that listing taken down, or you ran out of inventory, or you're having buy box issues, those things can make your ads show as ineligible. And you see that in the ads tab inside each ad group. And if your ad is showing as ineligible, you'll get no impressions and no traffic.
Gotcha.
Okay, sorry. Back to your question. I just want to
that's
clarify
okay.
that because their product might not be eligible.
Right. I have a keyword that applies to two products. Do I need to decide which product campaign to put this keyword in, or use it for both? And then to add to that, if I use it for both, how do I ensure the campaigns aren't competing against each other? The competing against each other part is a repeat question that we hear a lot with using the same keyword for a couple different campaigns or ad groups. How do they know that they're not competing against each other?
Well, they're really not. I mean, Amazon's going to pick. Like, Amazon tries really hard knowing that merchandising is tricky in retail and that there's a lot of keyword overlap. Going back to like Levi's advertising on women's jeans, right? They're going to put 5 different style variations on women's jeans. So they know that's going to happen in the world of keywords and e-commerce. So Amazon is already, it's in there. It's clearly stated in Seller Central that your keywords are not going to compete against each other in terms of bidding, but Amazon, without question, is going to pick the one they like best. So they're going to pick the keyword advertising the product that they think is best, is the best choice. So with that in mind, it's kind of, I personally don't like to let Amazon make my choices in terms of what I'm going to advertise or what keywords I'm going to use. So I like to kind of try to stay clear of duplicates where I can. Now, if it were earlier, like in 2016 and early 2017, you could use the same keywords and get multiple placements on Amazon's homepage before everyone started advertising and there was a lot more room there. And before they also shifted the placements to not have any sidebar, you could advertise a product with multiple variations and get 2 or 3 or 2 positions always on the homepage. And we did that a lot. But today, it seems that Amazon just picks one brand and one brand product for the homepage. So they're not going to put, say it's your brand and then 3 others. They're going to kind of rotate those on the first page of search in the top spots. So if you have multiple variations, it's unlikely they're both going to get the kind of traction you want to see. So I would go into your Business Center reports and I would pick the product that has the highest session percentage conversions, unit session percentage over time. And your products that are converting best, I would be using those to advertise, like I've discussed before. But if you have 2 products and you want to advertise both, I would suggest you take the best selling one, get it advertised, get it figured out what keywords are working and at what price, let it get established with the algorithm and let you get some history with it too, understanding how to run it, how to optimize it, let it get some traction. You only need to invest in one product, right? Don't divvy up your money, just invest in the one. Get that one going, and then when you see it's really working, you can kind of duplicate a lot of those keywords against the second product and see what you get. But most of the time, Amazon's going to pick the product it likes best anyway. But if you have 2 products that can perform equally on the keyword set, I would get one working and optimized first, and then I would try to kind of roll out the second one incrementally.
Awesome. I've had this question from a couple different students that says, should I insist on keeping my Amazon Choice badge while using these strategies?
Yeah, that's a question it's going to be just really based on your product and if you can keep Amazon's Choice, you obviously want to, and when you have it's a great thing to have. Any of the Amazon badges are incredible for conversion. So yeah, I would definitely try to keep your Amazon's Choice badge.
Awesome. A couple questions with talking about deleting, pausing, or modifying keywords. How much data do you think they should have before they start doing that? You usually say run something for 90 days. If they're going to do that right now, how much data do you think they should have?
Well, I mean, I like to see 90 days worth of data on sales, of course, and then I like to see overall for years worth of sales data. But I think if you're coming to keywords that aren't working, I think 10 clicks is normally a good indicator. What you need to know is what is your click to sale ratio. Like, you're going to need to get some of this data out of your search term report. Somebody had asked me, I saw a question queued up where someone had asked, could they use any of the bid estimates versus the search term report to get their max CPC? And the answer is no. Absolutely not. You can only get your max CPC based on your product's CPC prices in the market and your product's conversion rates. How does it sell, right? There's no blanket number for max CPC because it's based on every keyword and every product in your campaign. So when it comes to that, you need to get the data out of the search term report. So I really think that when people kind of move in that direction, they really need to be thinking about just looking at actual data. And if you know what your product should convert at, I really think that you're going to be fine. 10, maybe 15 clicks on Amazon is sufficient data to know that a keyword should be converting for you. And you can also look at how much it's cost you. So sometimes if you have a keyword that's expensive and you're going to notice you get to 10 clicks, but you've spent like $26 on those clicks and there's no sales, well, you're obviously not going to afford $26 per sale for any product on Amazon. So you're going to shut that down just for cost reasons, right? So there's a few variables that you can look at there. How much have you spent on that keyword to get what kind of sales, and what does that return look like? If it's no sales, how much have you spent for those clicks? But more importantly, I say 10 clicks is enough time to know if a keyword's a dud, especially if you're testing aggressively a lot of new search terms out of your reports. I think 10 clicks is a good indicator, but you could push it to 15, but never more than 20.
Mm-hmm. And testing is going to cost money. I mean, there's really no way around that, right, Cherie? Testing keywords is going to cost advertising money. That's just how we figure out how all this stuff works.
It is so true. You just got to test, but you can test incrementally. That's what we talked about, is not going too deep into a modifier until you understand how it sells for you, making sure you're pulling out the keywords out of your search term reports for the long tail versus guessing on them. Some of these things are going to bypass a lot of wasted ad dollars, but you are going to have to invest some money in testing, and your campaigns are only going to get better over time. That's all I can tell you, is as you start to optimize, as you start to learn, as the algorithm gets sales history and organic placements, this is definitely a long view, and it gets better and better over time, especially after those first 90 days.
Mm-hmm, definitely. I think this one will probably wrap up, because a lot of these are really, we really don't think that you should completely start over with your advertising while we're learning these strategies. Correct?
No, you don't need to start over. You need to take the stuff that's working. You need to really get into your campaigns. Keep the keywords that are converting profitably, and you want to keep the things that are working within your account. And then you just want to be adding and finessing these new strategies and new segments and new search terms into your campaigns. You don't need to totally shut down what's working. And then another thing that I thought was super important to differentiate there is when it comes to competitors' keywords, and this is a competitive strategy. I saw this question at one point too. When it comes to competitors' strategies, you're not putting those in your organic listings or your back-end search terms. You don't use competitors' terms anywhere within your brand stuff. Competitors are only keywords that you bid on within sponsored products to target placements in their pages. You're never trying to load your competitors' keywords into your placements, into your product pages, your product listings, your back-end. Nothing organic. That's an absolute no-no. If your brand is not Viking, do not add Viking into any of your organic type content, front or back. It's only something that you're going to bid on for paid placement.
Awesome. So I'll have you answer this one, and it'll kind of wrap up where we're at right now, because a lot of the questions coming in are campaign structure, and we're going to go over all that stuff. So there's, we're going to get there, guys.
No worries. We just got to make sure that when we do go over it, we have a full class, because there's no way we're going to be able to get it through on the Q&A.
Right, definitely. If we run out of inventory, should we pause our ad campaign?
That's kind of questionable. It's not a good situation no matter how you do it. I personally would just like let it stay active, and then it'll go right back into traffic after you get inventory back in. You can pause the ad campaigns, but to be honest, it's kind of like what's worser, right? Like whether you pause or enable, or at that point, it's like it's a bad situation. You're either going to do bad or you're going to do bad, right? So on that one, I would just say let them run and then let them go back up. If you want to be really granular and shut them down, you can, but personally, in my world, I've never seen an advantage to either pausing them or leaving them enabled. It seems to work just fine to leave them on and then they go right back into traffic. So it isn't a good situation because you never want to be out of your placements. You never want to be out of visibility or down. But since you are, I would just leave them running. And then when you get back in the buy box and back with inventory and add to cart and everything comes back on, so will your ads. So that's how we do it around here. But if you feel better about pausing, you can do that too.
Awesome. And I want to thank everybody for giving us all the feedback when we were having the little audio issues. Thank you guys so much for having that feedback come through, because I am sitting here in front of the computer and I'm reading every single one of these lines. So thank you so much. It's very much appreciated. And the questions today have been fantastic.
Yes.
We really appreciate you guys coming to this and sticking with us, and really hope you're getting a lot out of it.
Yeah, it was such good questions, and what a great way to kind of button up the week. And so we've had a big week, right? Holy cow, we're in like week 2 and so much that we've covered. So I'm really excited to get into next week, which is going to be market research and market share, which is a whole nother animal, and it's really fun. There's a lot of good details that you can get out of your market that you probably haven't thought about that you're going to find out how to do next week. So we will see you next week. Until next time.
Thank you.